Trophies were always an inseparable part of wars, and World War II was no exception. After the signing of the Act on Germany's capitulation, the Soviet Union was obligated to receive thousands of units of corrected military equipment from Germany. It is interesting to find out what happened to the legendary German tanks, aircraft and weapons after the end of the war. After the Red Army entered German territory, Soviet soldiers were allowed to send personal parcels with trophied German items back to their homeland once a month. The items were selected by the soldiers themselves, but they were given special preference to alcohol, tobacco, medications, streptomycin and penicillin, and personal items such as knives, watches, and antique furniture. All this could be purchased on the so-called black markets, which were widespread in Germany by the end of the war. Until 1943, trophied military equipment was collected in an unorganized manner. In other words, everything that could be picked up from the battlefield was picked up. After this, special trophy brigades were formed to collect German military property and send it to special storage facilities. Often, Allied armies and the population of liberated territories were involved in collecting trophies. The Soviet Union paid quite a lot of money for these trophies. For example, for the surrender of a German helmet, a reward of 3 rubles was offered. The amount increased depending on the number and value of the weapons and combat equipment. The weapons that were needed by the front, armour, anti-tank grenade launchers, were sent to the front lines. For obvious reasons, preference was given to heavy military equipment. Only a few German tanks were collected during and after the war. Most of the armoured vehicles were transported to Soviet bases in their original condition and underwent further processing as the country needed steel. Using the same Panther or Tiger tanks in battle was not economically viable due to the lack of a proper technical basis. After the war, German tanks were not part of the Soviet armament but were often used as targets during training exercises. As for the aircraft, the situation was different. Rarely did aircraft reach the Soviet Union in a flyable condition, and they were not considered valuable. The only exception was the German rocket aircraft. Many countries eagerly sought to obtain this valuable trophy, and until the 1950s, these aircraft were still in service in Spain. In the Soviet Union, based on the Me-262, the Su-9 interceptor was developed. The Red Army also did not forget about the rifles. Improved German rifles and automatic weapons were delivered to warehouses. If, after a thorough examination, it was found that the weapon did not require repair, it was scrapped. The weapon was considered a personal item, so Soviet soldiers preferred to use their own rifles, with which they had fought throughout the war. However, it should not be forgotten that after the war, all military trophies were not distributed for free among the Allies. The carefully concealed Operation Nemeslim assumed a possible new military conflict between countries' allies, and here, in addition to weapons, ammunition could be very useful. Over time, the passion cooled, and gradually the trophied German weapons and ammunition were partially sold, partially distributed for free to many countries in Asia, Africa, and South America.